Hello everyone! Welcome to a new chess video. Welcome to the Danish Gambit, a truly spectacular opening that will let you crush your opponents by suffocating them until they can't take it anymore. So without further delay, if you don't know this gambit, I'll show it to you quickly and then we'll dive deeper. e4, e5. You already know these are the two most popular moves in chess. And here we continue with d4. We're going to sacrifice a series of pawns to gain deadly activity and have tons of attacking lines. First, they capture this pawn from us. We don't recapture. Instead, we offer another pawn, c3, and when they take it, we still don't recapture. Instead, we develop our bishop to c4, and after pawn takes pawn, we'll capture with the bishop and reach the Danish Gambit position. We've sacrificed two pawns, but we have absolutely incredible bishops. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to punish all of your opponent's moves. In other words, this opening is going to help you win a ton of games, especially in blitz. If you don't believe me, pay close attention to the video. First of all, these two bishops are already attacking the king side. If your opponent in a blitz game quickly decides to develop their bishop anywhere, we simply capture this pawn and we've not only won the pawn but also the rook. Therefore, this bishop can't move. So you might say, well, I'll move the knight. It's not that easy either, because if you move the knight, I'm going to push the pawn, and pay attention because this knight can't jump here or here since those squares are defended by our queen. This knight has to go back, which would be pretty sad, or jump forward to this square. And if it jumps forward, we have a surprise prepared for it. We're going to make the classic sacrifice from the Danish Gambit and many other openings. Bishop takes on f7. We attack the weak point of the position. It can only be captured by the king, and when they take the bishop, the double attack with the queen is imminent. Queen to d5, check. And when the king moves back, we recover the material with queen takes knight. And this king, which is the most important thing, is left in the center of the board unable to castle because it has already moved. Also with very little protection, which will leave us with some absolutely amazing attacking lines. We're going to develop our pieces, castle, and then go all in against the king. Now we're really getting into the thick of it. Let's quickly review the line. e4, e5. We sacrifice the first pawn with d4. We give up the second pawn with c3, and now by playing bishop to c4, we give up the third pawn on b2, which this time we do capture. Before we continue with the first absolutely spectacular line, because you're going to be amazed, I have to thank you all. You already know that YouTube has been working terribly, especially with my channel, and overnight it stopped showing all my videos, so I wanted to thank you for the support you showed on yesterday's video. You are the best. That said, let's start analyzing the super powerful variations of this gambit, which is exactly why you're watching this video. Let's first analyze the most logical move, which you're probably wondering about. I've told you, this bishop can't move because then the bishop would be captured here and the rook would fall. However, this bishop can move to a chess checker square. It could go to b dash dash to b4 and check the king. In that case, we couldn't capture here because we would be in check. We would have to defend against the threat. How do we respond to this situation? Do we move the king? No, obviously not. Do we trade this bishop for the knight? No, because we want to keep both of our bishops on the board. So the move will be with the knight. Knight to c3 or knight to d2. Well, here I'm going to recommend the move knight to d2. A very powerful move, and you'll see why from here on out. First, I recommend knight to d2 because that way we keep threatening bishop takes pawn. A truly brutal threat, which is why we've developed our bishops here. They could continue, for example, with knight to f6, and when they play knight to f6, we've already said what we need to do, advance this pawn. Now, for example, they're threatening knight takes e4. You can see that this knight is pinned, so this pawn would fall completely for free. By advancing, at least this pawn doesn't fall anymore. Now black has two options, either come here or come here, because you can see they can't come here, nor here, because the queen is there. Therefore, coming here would be very passive. Coming here seems like a tremendous move since it puts even more pressure on the pinned knight. Here it might seem like we're already in serious trouble, but nothing could be further from the truth. The ones who are in trouble are actually them, and they probably wish they hadn't played this line. Let's first see how we can handle this. We have to come up with something to take advantage of this situation. The good thing is, I've already come up with it and I'm giving it to you so you don't have to invent it yourself. Just imitate it. We're going to sacrifice this bishop as always. Bishop takes f7, check. But when they capture chess ticker, now I no longer have queen to d5 check to recapture the knight because we have this knight in the way. That's true, but we don't need to bring the queen all the way here. We can play queen to d3 check and we'll take the bishop on the next move or continue the attack, as you'll see. Now this king could move back and lose a tempo, but here the most common move, I checked the database to see what black usually plays to defend against this, and it was to play d5, hoping that we would capture the bishop and this knight would remain defended. What happens is that by playing d5, we can capture en passant, giving check again. Therefore, here we would end up in a much better position. Now, if they have to block, the most logical thing is for them to block with the bishop, attacking our queen, and now we can capture this pawn here. We are attacking this knight with this piece and with this piece. Therefore, the most normal thing is for them to exchange this knight quickly to get out of trouble. And what do you think? Do you think we're going to recapture with the queen or with the king? Well, neither of those. We're going to continue our attack against all odds. Notice that here we have an absolutely brutal move. I want you to enjoy this line because it's truly impressive. If you want, in your own games you can recapture, but I'm going to show you a truly impressive way to continue. We'll place the queen here giving check, and once again we're attacking, this knight. Plus, we're putting pressure along this file and threatening to capture this pawn here and fork. So, when the king moves away, pay attention because we have this pawn. We capture here with the pawn, forking the queen and the knight. Don't tell me this line isn't absolutely fascinating. We fork the queen and the knight, so the queen has to move. Most likely, she'll go here, lining up for a potential discovered attack with the king. And what are we going to do? Are we going to get out of the discovered attack by capturing the knight here? No. Once again, we have a truly impressive move. Whoever guesses this move is literally a god, because it's practically impossible to see. Only computers spot it. But since we've studied it, we know we have this absolutely stunning move, queen to e5. And why is it so impressive if it looks the same? Look closely. First, it gets out of the pin. Second, it still keeps the support. And third, it's creating a very powerful battery, threatening checkmate on the next move. Therefore, this move is all about threats. How can black stop this? Honestly, it's getting pretty difficult for them. The mating attack is imminent. The threat to capture here is also imminent. First, black has to defend against mate, but once they do, they're leaving this capture here undefended. We capture here, promote to a queen, they have to take it, so we recapture, check, and you can see we're entering a completely powerful line. When they bring the queen back to defend against this check, I can tell you here that you can trade queens and then capture this knight, and you'll have a completely winning endgame with a rook and an extra piece. You don't have to memorize what I'm about to tell you next. You do this and that's it, but we have a brilliant move, as Grandmaster Pepe Cuenca, who's a genius, would say, sending him greetings from here. It's a Coca-Cola move. We have a brilliant move, which is knight to f3, exchanging these knights. This knight that black had was lost. They're going to say, oh, this is really good. Well, first, wait a moment. I can already see you in the comments. Saying, you're leaving the queen hanging. You're absolutely right. This queen has to move back first. Where is this queen going to go? Live mistakes, it's okay. Luckily, I corrected it in time. Where is this queen going to go? We'll place her here again, once more threatening checkmate and attacking this bishop. A bishop that has to retreat or be defended by the queen. And now, yes, we'll place this knight here, just as I was telling you before. I just memorized too many lines, guys, forgive me. Knight to f3. Now, yes, they're going to exchange this knight because this knight was already considered lost. And what do we do about this? It seems like a really bad move, doesn't it? Yes, it seems like a really bad move, but actually it's very good because we're opening the file for the rook and putting absolutely fascinating pressure on the g7 square. It seems like this can't be stopped anymore, on top of all the extra material we have. For example, they might play here, trying to bring that rook over, their last remaining hopes. This is practically turning into a massacre. If we play here, attacking, they could defend by playing here. And now we have a masterful move, which is castling long. We're going to bring the rook in, and now for real, they can just resign. This line is absolutely stunning. You can't tell me it's not. I hope you're really enjoying these lines. The most important thing isn't to memorize them by heart. You already know that chess is very complex and every game is unique. What's important is to understand all the concepts. And the more concepts you see in these games and are able to connect, the better you'll be able to execute them in your own games later on. Let's see what happens here if, instead of playing the knight over here, we've already seen that we can push the pawn or come in with a check. They play a more cautious line to avoid getting into trouble, since they have two pawns up, such as d6. As I said, to avoid getting into trouble, here we're going to recommend the move knight to f3. We develop our knight so that, who knows, in the future, after the knight comes here, we might be able to jump in and make this typical attack from here. Therefore, here black can play a move as typical as bishop to g4. Bishop to g4, which is a huge blunder. This is already a mistake. Simply, we go back to what we always say. This bishop is undefended. You can see this in any of your own games. You already know that on the channel, there's a video on how to punish, in general, this move here, which is sometimes quite bad, and I show you how to punish it. If you want, okay, I'll leave the video in the description so you can watch it after this one if you like. And now, let's see how to punish it in this particular position here. We simply capture the f7 pawn, bishop takes f7, check. When the king recaptures, we can jump with the knight to this square here. Knight to f5, check. Chess teacher, you've gone crazy. You're sacrificing the knight. The knight isn't being sacrificed because the queen is undefended. Therefore, this knight can't be captured. And at the same time, we're giving check with the knight and capturing the bishop with two different pieces. So when the king moves, wherever it goes, we simply recapture this bishop here that our opponent has given us by placing it in this pin. What just happened here? We've won back a pawn from our opponent, and above all, we've ruined their castling. This king can no longer castle and will be stuck here in the center of the board for the rest of the game. Easily attackable. So we've seen that this move was very bad. Let's see what happens if they play bishop to e6, trying to exchange one of our most powerful bishops. Why? Because this is the bishop that is usually sacrificed here and causes so many problems for black. So how should we play if they try to exchange this bishop? Well, we're going to exchange it, of course. Bishop takes a6 and pawn takes a6. And now, how do we continue? With the move queen to b3, a double attack. We attack the e6 square and we also attack the b7 square. A double attack so fearsome in chess. The only move that defends both points at the same time. Queen to c8. Why? Because it defends here and it defends here. And now we simply jump with the knight to put more pressure on this square here. You might say, come on chess teacher, I just push it forward and that's it. Then you would get a totally brutal checkmate. This pawn can't be pushed forward. Therefore, it can't be defended by any piece either. The only piece that can come is the king. Now the situation is starting to get murky. It already looks like black is in trouble, but if we don't know how to punish it, it doesn't matter if they're in trouble. So, I'm going to show you how to punish it. You're liking the Evans Gambit, aren't you? It's spectacular. Let's capture this pawn here with the knight. Knight takes a 6. And now what? We're giving away this knight here. We're losing a lot of material. Yes, but we're diverting the defense of this pawn here, which was the queen. And now, by capturing this pawn with the queen, not only do we defend this pawn that was under attack, but now we're going to capture the rook, because as you can see, there's no way to defend it. Therefore, we would have not only a positional advantage, but also a material one. I'm really enjoying these lines here with you all. Even though YouTube isn't treating you well, we're having a great time. Honestly, I really enjoy recording here on my little wooden board, teaching all these lines for you. And not so much computer, so many computer variations and all that. I love the real board. Let's see what happens if our opponent is super aggressive and brings the queen to attack the weak point. Well, my friend, I have a surprise for you. I've already sacrificed 2 pawns for you, but now I'm going to sacrifice a third by playing knight to f3. I'm threatening your queen and giving you this pawn here. I'm giving you the g2 pawn. Have you gone crazy, chess teacher? Yes, I've gone crazy, yes. That's just how it is, I've gone crazy. But I'm giving you this pawn for a special reason. I'm going to bring my rook over here to attack your queen. The knight is defended, the rook is also defended, so the queen has to move away. And now I suppose you all know this tactic and have all seen it before. But if not, I'll tell you. Bishop takes f7 here is winning. Why? Because if they capture with the king, we have this knight jump check and we would take the queen. It would be beautiful. But if they don't take our bishop, it could also happen, chess teacher, that they don't capture the bishop. So what do I do? It could be, for example, that they move the king away, of course. But then we have a truly spectacular move here, which is rook takes pawn. Now we sacrifice the rook. We are threatening this knight here, so the attacks are imminent. They can't move the knight out because even more problems would arise. We could come in through here with discovered attacks. Therefore, the most normal thing here is for them to capture this rook. They accept the exchange, and then we capture here, defending this rook. You might not imagine it, but the most played move here by far is knight to h6. If you take me here, I take you there, and not much really happens. But we simply play bishop here, checkmate, and this king can't escape. We've seen a lot of options for black, now let's look at the best option for the black pieces. That is, what happens if you face a player who has studied theory and knows this line well? How can we counter it? Well, the best move here is knight to c6. It's a bit of a strange move, since it seems too passive. But anyway, we could face anything, so we have to be prepared for everything. In this case, as always, I recommend knight to f3, a pretty powerful developing move. The thing is, we have a problem, and I'm going to explain what the problem is. When we get checked here, we can no longer use the same strategy as before, which was to play knight to d2 and all that to bring the queen to b3 and capture the bishop, because this bishop is defended by the knight. Therefore, we're going to change course a bit and jump with the knight to c3, and you'll see why. Knight to c3. Black can continue playing naturally with knight to f6. A very normal, ordinary game. And now we are simply going to castle. Once we castle, what can black do? They can castle as well, for example. And we are going to continue with the move knight to d5. A pretty powerful move. Why is it such a powerful move? Because now this knight is being threatened by two pieces, so it has to be captured, and we will recapture with the pawn, putting a lot of pressure on this knight here. A knight that is running out of good squares. The most common move is for it to go to a 7 to put more pressure on this pawn here. And here we're going to play the strong move queen to d4 to put a lot of pressure on the opponent's castling. As you know here, without forgetting the theory, you have to remember something fundamental. We have to attack. If we play this line, we have to attack relentlessly. Our idea is to take advantage of our two bishops that are aiming at the enemy king. Therefore, a queen to d5 in this position is brutal because it directly threatens checkmate. Here, there are several options to stop the checkmate. For example, f6 is disastrous because we would simply push the pawn to d6, discover check, and then capture the knight on the next move. Therefore, this move is not possible. And the other move that also seems possible is to bring the knight over here, attacking the queen, and at the same time defending this square here. What happens now is that we simply have to move our queen to the king side. Queen to g4, once again threatening checkmate. Not immediately, but now yes, we first attack the knight, which can't move. If the knight leaves, checkmate. Therefore, this knight can't move. It's true that they could play d6, defending this knight, and at the same time also countering a possible discovered attack. What we need to do is take advantage of the bishops. I always tell you this in this opening, make use of the bishops. Bishop to d3, we move it back one square, redirect it and improve its position by placing it here, putting more pressure on this knight, which is attacked by two pieces and can't move because it would be checkmate. Therefore, this position is falling apart. Here, black's pieces can hardly do anything anymore because we're also threatening a discovered attack on this bishop when we move back. Therefore, this position is unsustainable. Do you know what move many books recommend against the Danish gambit? They recommend the move d5. And I'm going to show you how to counter it. If they play d5, we'll capture with this bishop. You can see that, the idea behind this d5 is to give up this pawn, but to free up the position a bit. Now it's true, they could play c6, and many of you might think forcing this bishop to move, exchanging queens, and taking advantage of this extra pawn that the black pieces have. But nothing could be further from the truth. We have the move that always saves us in this opening, which is bishop takes f7. This move, you should always calculate it. Now the king can't capture. Goodbye. Because the queen would be left completely undefended. Therefore, the king has to keep defending the queen with king to e7. But there's this spectacular move, bishop to a 3 check. And now the king can't come here to defend the queen, so he has to move away. And we get to take the queen completely for free. Thank you. So we've seen that the move c6 is complete garbage. Why? Because then we would capture here, and they would lose the queen. What move do the books recommend after d5? Well, they recommend the move knight to f6, threatening this bishop that is now, so to speak, pinned for the queen exchange. We'll simply defend it with the move knight to c3. It's true, they can capture it, but now our knight here would be left in a pretty good position. We've lost our most powerful bishop, but our knight is now in a very good position. Many of you might think, now they really can threaten the knight, and once it moves, they'll be able to exchange queens. But here there's a spectacular move, which is knight to f6 check, sacrificing the knight. The queen can't capture it because of the bishop, but the pawn can. And now it's us who exchange the queens. Why? Because now we'll play bishop takes f6 check, and on the next move we'll capture the rook. What happens if our opponent doesn't want to go into the Danish gambit line? d4. And when they capture here and we play c3, they don't capture here, but instead try to play a line like, for example, d5. We shouldn't worry because we'll simply capture here, and after the queen captures, we recapture this pawn here and end up with equal material. We don't have a single pawn less, and on top of that, we have extra tempo because we're going to attack a queen that's in the center of the board with our knights. We're going to develop faster than the black pieces. However, here we have a material advantage. Therefore, the most common thing is that they won't play this line against you here. If they do play it, it's no big deal. d4 here, they take c3, and here the most common thing is that they capture bishop to c4. It could be that they still don't capture here and play a line like this. We simply keep developing, and at some point they'll end up capturing this pawn here, and we'll recapture it with our bishop. And if they don't capture it, then we'll end up taking it ourselves with the knight, and we'll enter another gambit line called the gory gambit, which is also very powerful. Now, for those of you who have made it to the end of the video, I want to thank you once again for your support. Honestly, I'm really loving the support I'm receiving. You already know that YouTube is treating us very badly. Before, when you searched for chess on YouTube, we were the first ones. We were trending, and I don't know what happened to YouTube, but now we're dropping from one day to the next. but together we're going to make it. Thank you so much. If you've made it this far, it's because you liked the video. Please leave me a like and a comment. I would really appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It's absolutely free for you. In fact, YouTube is taking away subscribers from me and I want to reach 100,000. So I hope you really enjoyed the video. I appreciate all your support. I read all your comments and I'll see you in the next video, friends. Goodbye!